Welcome to Inside Marquette Basketball here at the Al McGuire Center. Sophia Minner, great to be joined now by Marquette men's basketball head coach Shaka Smart. And coach, we are 1 week into the season, and it was a very busy week for your team. 3 games, including opening night at Fiserv Forum, most recently on the road against Indiana. You said it's a great week for learning. So what have you learned about your team in the first week?
It's been an intense week. We go from having 200 days or so with no games and such an anticipation and excitement for one game to all of a sudden we play 2 games in 48 hours and 3 games in a week's time. I think for our guys, we got some really valuable experience. Some guys did some great things. Obviously, the Indiana game, a lot of things that didn't go our way, some things we need to learn and do better, particularly on the defensive end. But, for the first week of the season, a very rich, valuable experience. We always say we want to grow as much or more than any team in the country, and we certainly have a lot of opportunity for that coming off this week.
And you were great on the home court, win opening night against Albany, and then, Coach, congratulations. A major milestone for you with the win against Southern University on Wednesday, your 100th win here at Marquette. You were very humble speaking about it after the game, saying it's about the players. To think about that 100 wins, what you've done here now, going into your 5th season, what do you think of that milestone?
Honestly, I really didn't want to think about it at all because, I don't know, I guess I'm just a little superstitious where I want to focus on the next game. But I didn't really anticipate how many people would text me about it or comment on it, which I appreciate. All the congratulations and people thinking of me and us. I think the biggest thing that I take from it is this goes so fast. It feels like we got here not too long ago, and I remember being in our meal room down the hall with Tyler Kolick and Oso Ighodaro and Stevie Mitchell when he first got here, and Cam Jones and Omax Prosper, and those guys were all strangers to each other. And I was like, wow, we got a long way to go to build the relationships and the connectivity that we need. And now, it's been over 4 seasons going into our 5th, so it's not really about the number of wins. I mean, obviously, you've been around sports for a long time. We're always trying to go 1-0 in the very next one, and that's how it'll always be.
Well, Marquette also got some national attention with Giannis Antetokounmpo saying, hey, maybe I could suit up for Marquette. Am I eligible? And first of all, for Giannis to be thinking about Marquette and suiting up with your team, you gave yourself 5 minutes, I think, right? You gave yourself 5 minutes to think about what Giannis in a Marquette uniform could look like and what your team could look like with him on the floor.
Well, I'm a Bucks fan, and I'm a Giannis fan, and I've actually been a Giannis fan well before I came to Marquette, and I remember him coming in as a young player. And so over the years, I've often thought about what position is he? Who would be best to have out there with him? And I always thought about that from the standpoint of the NBA because that's where he plays. But then when he put out that tweet, again, I gave myself 5 minutes to think about if he was on our team, what would we do and who would we play with him? And it's always been cool to be even associated with him from the standpoint of being in the same building where he plays, one of the best players to ever play the game of basketball and someone that's changed basketball in this city forever.
Do you get that sense from your players, right, of the opportunity to play in Fiserv Forum, that Giannis is talking about Marquette basketball, and obviously the proximity, right? And he loves basketball more than anybody, of how that maybe rubs off on your team?
I think a little bit. Unfortunately, there's certain things that is more impactful to the coaches than the players. I think this is probably one of them. Not that it's not meaningful, but I just think that when you're 19, 20, 21 years old, you're kind of focused on what you're doing and what's going on in your life. And we try really hard to give them perspective, and that's something that we work at every day. But they appreciate Fiserv more for the Marquette games and the Marquette students and how cool that is. Sometimes I got to remind them, and I think actually we have an upcoming game where literally there's days where we play, and then later that day the Bucks play. That's pretty cool.
The Fiserv Forum doubleheaders, if you will, the Marquette and Bucks doubleheaders. And Coach, we've seen a lot of your young players, right, getting on the floor at Fiserv and in Indiana. You've gone deep into your bench. We're seeing 10, 11, 12 players on the floor. What are you learning about, especially your young players, your freshmen, a different starting lineup, and how you're giving everybody some run here early in the season?
Well, it's one of those teams where we don't have a ton of separation between a lot of our guys in terms of different guys bring different things to the table. We have a lot of young guys that are not yet who they're going to be in time. It's exciting. Downstairs this morning, Josh and Sheik were down there working out and getting after it, and you could just see like what these guys are going to be. But right now they're really young, and we've got a back half of our roster where, again, on a given night, one guy might be better than the other, or for what the team needs, or a given opponent, another guy might be better. So we're just sorting through that and trying to figure out who can emerge and step forward. I think it's going to take some time, but at the same time, we like playing a lot of guys from a depth standpoint because we want to wear the other team down. We ourselves have to continue to gain competitive stamina out there over the course of 40 minutes, and that's something that we're building each game.
Shaka Smart's interview is presented by Wintrust, Wisconsin's bank, the official banking partner of Marquette University.
We're back with head coach Shaka Smart here on Inside Marquette Basketball at the Al McGuire Center. And Coach, we were talking a little bit about just the pace and the how fast your team is offensively. That is translating certainly on the defensive side as well. You talk about this has been a principle of yours, creating chaos, havoc, right? Playing with violence on the defensive end. How have we seen that show up, especially in the first two wins and the Albany game, where it was a record game for your team defensively?
Well, our theme for that game was kill zone because it's a huge emphasis for us when we get in the kill zone, which is 2 stops. We really, really, really want to put everything we have into getting that next stop, which is 3 stops, which is a kill. And last year we were about 56% of our conversion rate of our kill zones, meaning a little over half the time when there was a kill zone, we got that next stop. And we want that number to be higher. And so for the very first game, we made it our theme, kill zone. And the guys really, really sunk their teeth into it. We had 18 kill zones, which is great. I mean, you want to put yourself in, you have to be in the kill zone to get a kill. So we had 18 kill zones, and then we converted 13 of them, which is the most we've had since we've been at Marquette. Our previous record was 11. And the guys did a really good job of locking in. Our crowd helps a lot. Our students, our whole crowd chanting kill. I really appreciate our game operations folks for just that synergy between what we're trying to create within our team and what we want the whole building to be aware of, whether it's deflections, kills, EGBs. That is really meaningful. And I've had opposing coaches mention that to me, like, hey, that's really cool in the arena, how you guys connect that to what you're about as a team. Now the growth for us is 13 against Albany. Can we go do that against a higher level team? And that's, for us, the process we're going through is guys understanding it's harder to get a kill against Indiana than it is against Albany, but it takes what it takes. And for all of our guys, this year's team early in the year, pretty much everyone's in a new role, almost everyone. And so understanding in that new role relative to last year or relative to high school for our freshmen, what's required to go be what we need to be, particularly on the defensive end.
And 51 deflections as well, right, Coach? And so when you're talking about marking all of these things, right, the kill zones, the kills, skunks, right, the terminology that you guys use to measure all of this, what does that require of your players in terms of like their buy-in, right, and the energy levels and the effort levels of, like you said, for a lot of them, this is new. We saw a lot of your freshmen, right? These are their first Marquette games, and what that requires from them.
Well, one of the things that we try to help them understand is what it requires from them is just following our defensive process. These are all outcomes, statistics, whether it's kills, skunks, deflections, we keep something called points per possession, which is literally if there was 100 possessions and we gave up 70 points, it'd be 0.7, which is exactly what it was in the Albany game. But those are all outcomes of a process that we want to follow. So we want our guys to be focused on the process. Obviously, the outcomes give you something to shoot for and something to go after, and that's why we use both. But make no mistake about it, it's sprinting back in transition, it's playing defense in a stance, it's the things that go into rebounding, all the components that allow you to go get a stop.
It's very early, Coach. It's just 3 games. But who is the one guy that you can count on that sets the tone defensively for you?
Well, I would say Chase Ross probably has the best foundation. The biggest challenge right now, I think, for him, though, is we are asking so much more of him on offense. And can he have the mental intensity and the physical stamina to go be what he can be at his best on defense, even with everything that we're asking him to do on offense?
Inside Marquette Basketball is brought to you by Aurora Healthcare, the healthcare choice of Marquette Athletics.
Fellas, welcome to the Marquette Basketball History Tour. We're going to take a little tour, and we're going to start from the beginning. We got 2 all-time Marquette greats here joining us. And so what we're going to do is we're going to learn a ton about the history of Marquette basketball. We're going to go to a couple different venues, all right, and we're going to end it up in our venue. So I thought you could maybe shed some light on what it was like to practice here.
When Coach told me he was going to do this, I wanted to be here for sure, because this is our practice facility, you know. So this is our history. At the time, we had Hank Raymond, Rick Majerus, and Al McGuire, who's, it's a shame you guys just couldn't meet him as well someday, but he would always sit in because he had retired. He'd ride his motorcycle, and he would just sit and watch practice, and he would take us out to dinner a lot, which was cool. He had a basement full of toy soldiers. Like, he was a World War II, I think, history buff, and he had all these battles, like the actual battles, formatted on this floor all through the basement, and he'd walk you through it. And it was all about war mentality. It wasn't about the soldiers when you got to know them. It was all about war and how you win war and how you plan for war. That's all he talked about to us, which was a really cool thing for me.
So in 1950, they built an arena called Milwaukee Arena. All right, so that currently is UWM Arena, and that's where we're going to go next. You look at this place again, this is where Marquette played for 38 years, 38 seasons. So Trav got here in 2001, all right? In 2003, and you guys can see it on there, there's a picture of him cutting down the nets in the Bradley Center. So where we're standing right now after winning the conference championship.
I'm very grateful of my time here, and I love what Shaka's done with the program. Getting to know a lot of you guys firsthand, the high character that you guys are. Like, it's fun to be around. It's fun to be a small part of what you guys got going. I just wish you guys all the best for each you guys individually and collectively.
Trav, thank you for joining us, and we appreciate it. Everybody shake Travis' hand, and we're gonna walk over to Fiserv.
Keep it pretty loud. You guys will shake hands. Family on 3?
Yes, sir.
1, 2, 3.
Bam!
It was like,
So this is the last stop on our tour of Fiserv Forum. We're gonna go to 3 different places in Fiserv Forum. This was built in 2018, and it's still the 3rd newest arena in the NBA. All right, everything's state of the art here. And so we're gonna go to a couple different spots.
Listen, man, it's a grateful experience learning about our ancestors over here. Just grateful to be where we at, putting together these moments and just being grateful for them, man. That's all I got for you, dog.
Get it though, get it though. This is a proud place, man, and that's never gonna change. We got a chance to make a lot of people proud. We get a chance to come out here in 3 weeks. We talk a lot about finding meaning. If you can't find meaning in what you heard over the last 90 minutes, then I don't know what to tell you. Just the opportunity we have is special. So we're back in the practice court tomorrow.
it's not really going to feel fresh or feel new or feel different. But we have a chance to do one thing, and that's get better. What else is there to do? Everybody in.
Family on three. 1, 2, 3.
Why did you want to take your team on that tour and show them kind of all the different eras of Marquette basketball and, of course, finishing at Fiserv Forum?
Well, as we talked about earlier, it's easy when you're a college-aged person, not just a basketball player, to be wrapped up in what you have going on and not really understand much perspective of what came before you or even what's going on in the world around you. So I think that's part of our job, is to help our guys with that perspective. We're at such a special place in terms of the history of the basketball program here, and we happen to have some really, really cool and accomplished Marquette, as I call them, ancestors. They don't like that name because it makes them sound old, but the guys that came before our current players. This is the 109th version of Marquette men's basketball. And so I got the idea from one of the football programs that I visited. They didn't quite do a full history tour, but they took their guys to see a couple of different things relative to the program. And so I said, you know what? Why don't we really try to give the guys a sense of where we've come from? Last year we did some things with Ulyss Payne with the old jerseys where he talked through different eras, and that was really, really cool. And Doc and Travis told a bunch of cool stories about the old gym. And then we actually shared some things about when Marquette played in the old gym. Obviously, Doc and Travis practiced there, but they're not that old that they played there. So we had pictures. You know, we had a picture of the first integrated Marquette basketball team. I believe it was 1951. Tex Winter was the coach. And then from there, we went to what's now UWM Arena, what was Milwaukee Arena. Obviously, Al's phenomenal teams and phenomenal runs. That was all in that arena. 1977 was a national championship, but it was also the year that the NBA All-Star Game. Picture the center of the basketball universe, the NBA All-Star Game and All-Star Weekend here, and think about like just that and how things have changed. And so some more stories from that. And when we left there, we walked towards Fiserv over what was the Bradley Center. And Travis was with us. And so Travis told a bunch of stories about Coach Crean. We had on the iPad a picture of the young Travis as a sophomore cutting down the nets.
Yeah.
2003, won the Conference USA regular season championship. We went into Fiserv, went to a few different spots there, including the very top row of Fiserv. I had the guys sit in the top row, and I told them some stories about, what has occurred to this point on that court over the course of about 7 years. And I also told them, hey, look at this perspective, guys. We don't really get this perspective when we're down on the court. But, for a lot of our games, there'll be someone sitting in this very seat watching us perform. And then we went down in the locker room, and then we went out on the court finally, played the Pray video, and just talked about, what went into creating that and how special it is for our guys and our coaches to be part of this current version of Marquette basketball.
Inside Marquette Basketball is presented by Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all. Inside Marquette Basketball is presented by Pepsi. Thirsty for more.
Inside Marquette Basketball, we wrap up with Coach Smart here, and you guys are getting ready for another busy week. Over the weekend, you'll be playing Maryland, and you'll also be honoring one of the all-time great Marquette players, as Jerel McNeal will have his jersey retired. He will be the 11th player to have his jersey retired and hung in Fiserv Forum. It's an incredible honor. He was obviously put together a phenomenal resume here at Marquette as a 3-time team captain. What can you say about Jerel McNeal and to honor him in that way with your program?
The consummate Marquette guy, two-way player, great on both ends of the floor, flat-out winner. We've got a picture to my left of Jerel, Wes, and Dominique. And one thing that's cool about those guys is you can't really mention one without the other two. I mean, they were so interconnected. And They did so much winning together. That's really what it all comes down to. But this is really right on time for Jerel to go up in the rafters. Well deserved, one of the greatest players to ever play here. A guy that put his heart and soul into this program and into this university. And the thing that's cool all these years later is he feels just as strongly and just as powerfully about Marquette basketball as he did back then.
He received a lot of accolades, within the conference, including Big East Defensive Player of the Year. Again, 3-time team captain. He was so connected with Wes and with Dominique, like you said. What does his time here also mean for the players in terms of like that standard, right? And the standard of not just winning, but as a leader, and like you said, on the defensive end, the effort that he gave on such a consistent basis.
There's so much to be learned from Jerel if our guys, can be highly receptive to it. I mean, the way he approached the game with such seriousness, he was such a student of how can I gain a little edge against my opponent, whether it's on the defensive end or on the offensive end. And then just his competitive stamina. He could just keep going and going and going. You remember, because that's your era. And, again, I keep going back to he had one bottom line, winning. That's really what it was all about. And it's amazing how much credit you can end up getting individually if that's all you're focused on is making your team win.
Aside from the retirement ceremony, the jersey retirement ceremony for Jerel, you're also going to be celebrating Marquette Dad's Day. And this was something cool that you did last year with the Mom's Day. Now it's the dad's turn, and there are some special things that you are doing for the team leading up to that game, and they'll be participating in the game. So why is that important to you and your staff to have the dads such a key part of this specific game?
Well, our guys' parents are a very, very important part of our program. Their support means everything to us and to our guys. I often talk about, our players' growth and development as a triangle, with the players at the top of the triangle. And on one side of the base, our coaching staff, our support staff, everyone here that's here to help them grow. And then the other side of the base of the triangle is, their family and loved ones, and especially their parents back home. And if we have great alignment and synergy between those two groups at the base of the triangle, that's what gives the players at the top of the triangle the best chance to truly maximize their growth. So it was an idea that came up last year to honor the Marquette moms. I was raised by a single mom, so moms always come first. But when we did that, it was clear that there were some dads that wanted to get some love too. So I told them back then, I said, we will definitely do Marquette Dad's Day next year, and so here it is. And we're excited to honor those guys. Those guys have put a lot of time and effort into planning some of the programming, as you said before, during and after the game. And it'll be a heck of a day just from a standpoint of great opponent, great opportunity, chance to be in Fiserv in front of our fans, and most importantly, a chance for our team to continue to move forward.
We're looking forward to another great week, 2 games here at Fiserv Forum, including that Maryland game coming up on Saturday. Thank you, Coach, for the time. Best of luck this week. That's a wrap on Inside Marquette Basketball here with head coach Shaka Smart.
This has been a presentation from Learfield,